What's up, guys? Mainly Hockey Cards here, and today we're looking at all 50 Young Guns from this year's 2023-24 Upper Deck Series 1 hockey. I will give an investment potential letter rating from F to A for each card. In general, I see Fs as cards to stay away from, Ds as players with limited to no potential for value, Cs as players that are on the fringe of having more value but look more like depth players, Bs as players that have increasing potential but may have inconsistencies or uncertainties, and A's as players that are the highlights of the product and have the highest potential value ceiling. These grades are also scaled based on this series alone. Bedard may get the first A++ I've ever given when his card releases later in the year, because if he were to be an A+, the rest of the year's rookies would be C or lower, and that's truthfully not representative of how good some of these players are. It is important to note I'm not a financial advisor. Please do your own due diligence and research before investing in anything or anyone. 2023-24 Series 1, let's get underway. Matthew Coronato has been nothing short of spectacular this preseason, and on a Flames team that is in an identity crisis, I think he's got a legitimate shot at the top 6 coming out of the gates. If he doesn't, he'll get there sooner than later, A-. Vincent Desharnais, age 27, is not going to produce offense, but is a reliable depth defenseman. Plays on a great team, but historically hasn't put much offense together, D+. Joona Koppanen is now in the Penguins organization. He is a tall and lanky centerman that has had modest production in the AHL and little production in the NHL with limited minutes played. Nothing stands out, C. Yaroslav Askarov is one of the players I will be chasing in this series, an extremely athletic goaltender who likely still needs to develop a little bit more, but should see increased NHL action this season. One of the most hyped goalie prospects in the entire league, A-. Jonathan Gruden is another player in the Penguins organization that has put up a few decent seasons in the AHL, but nothing spectacular. Likely has a ceiling of a depth forward at his current trajectory, C-. William Dufour, at 21 years of age, is coming off a successful first AHL season, putting up 48 points in 69 games. I'd be hard-pressed to believe that he wouldn't get more looks in the NHL this season for a team that is going to need more offense in front of stellar defense and goaltending. For the former QMJHL MVP, B. Jaxson Stauber is the son of former NHL goaltender Rob Stauber. He is 24 years old and didn't sparkle in the AHL this past season, but went 5-1 for the Blackhawks with a .911 save percentage. Kind of a confusing one here, and with the Blackhawks having subpar goaltending otherwise, it does open the door for him. For now, C+. Jakob Pelletier for the Calgary Flames was a point per game in the AHL this year, as well as having 10 points in 9 playoff games. A modest start in the NHL as well, with 7 points in 24 games. Unfortunately, just had surgery and is now on injured reserve to start the season. B. Samuel Bolduc is a 22-year-old defenseman for the Isles coming off his best AHL season to date and put up a few points in almost a quarter of the season for the Isles, C+. Dustin Wolf is another hot flame going into the season. Wolf will start the year in the AHL, but should not and will not be ignored. He's likely the goaltender of the future for Calgary, and an interesting cap situation and underwhelming preseason have played big factors in his demotion to the minors, but that shouldn't be seen as a bad thing in the long run, A-. Milos Kellerman is a 24-year-old winger in the Coyotes system that likely maxes out as a depth forward, but brings a lot of international experience to the table, having been a Slovakian national team staple for the last few years, C-. Ridley Gregg is the player that my subscribers seem to talk about the most. Shout out to all of you that have mentioned him before. He had 9 points in 20 NHL games last season and plays all 3 zones. Having just turned 21, I think he'll be a fan favorite for years to come and bring a big offensive upside as well, A-. Will Cooley is someone I'm particularly excited about as a Rangers fan, a big-bodied forward with an offensive scoring touch and someone who isn't afraid to mix it up. However, being a Rangers prospect, I am worried that the Rangers may botch his development like so many other forwards, B. Owen Beck was recently sent back to the OHL for further development this season, but he has impressed in the limited NHL regular and preseason action he's been in, B. Brock Faber is a 21-year-old right-handed defenseman for the Minnesota Wild. The former captain of the Minnesota Golden Gophers is going to feel right at home and has shown some offensive upside too, despite no NHL points to date. With Jared Spurgeon out to start the season, Faber is on the first pairing, B. Cole Gutman is an undersized forward that has had a great start to his NHL career. He put up 6 points in his first 14 games, including 4 goals. He's right on the fringe of becoming a full-time NHLer. Sleeper player here, B-. Arnaud Durando just got sent to the minors but had a strong AHL campaign last season and got a cup of coffee with the Islanders. Could very well get a call-up and would likely slot in the bottom 6, C. David Gust is a 29-year-old right winger in the Blackhawks organization that had a career year in the AHL last season. I don't see too much upside here, though, given he's already 29 and will start the season in the minors, D. Elliot Denoye is a 21-year-old prospect of the Flyers who had a decent AHL campaign and no points in 4 NHL games last season. Plays a really strong two-way game and likely becomes a solid bottom 6 forward, a player that Flyers fans want. C. Drew Hellison is a promising young defensive defenseman for the Ducks. Will start the year in the AHL, does have some offensive upside though. C+. Luke Evangelista had a strong showing in his first NHL season, scoring 15 points in his first 24 games. While he likely slots in on the third line to start the year, he'll surely be moving up and down the lineup as the season goes on. I don't think a 50-point campaign is out of the question. Weird market to be in though, B+. Matthew Knies made his much-anticipated debut for the Maple Leafs this past season and had an energy-filled playoffs where he potted 1 goal and 3 assists in 7 games. He'll be a coveted young guns to get in one of the league's hottest markets. A+. Tristan Robbins is an about-to-be 22-year-old forward in the San Jose system coming off his first full season in the AHL, putting together a solid 38-point campaign. Bad market, may take more time to develop. C. Vincent Iorio is a soon-to-be 21-year-old defenseman in the Capitals organization who had 22 points in 63 AHL games last season and chipped in 1 assist in 3 NHL games. Will need time to develop. C+. Tyson Forster had 7 points in 8 games for the Flyers last season and is one of the best prospects for them. It'll come down to the last cuts, but we should see him full-time as a Flyer in the near future for a team that is going to need him to be everything they think he will be. A-. Igor Afanasyev is a 6'4", 22-year-old winger who put up just 1 goal in 17 NHL games and 26 points in 57 AHL games. He needs time to develop and is likely a year or 2 off. C. Yuri Patera put together a solid AHL campaign in Henderson and looked great in limited NHL action. He's 24, but that is still pretty early in a goalie's career, and you never know what will happen with goalies. B-. Simon Edvinsson for the Detroit Red Wings, 2 goals in 9 NHL games this year and 27 points in 52 AHL games. The 6'6", 20-year-old blue liner is poised to be a mainstay for the Wings in the near future. The start in the AHL is likely, but it's mostly to do with a crowded veteran blue line. B+. Wyatt Kaiser is a 21-year-old defenseman that had 3 points in his first 9 NHL games and looks to be starting the year in Chicago. There's a good chance he starts the year on the first pairing, and with Bedard Mania, I guess anything is possible for players that have any chance of being on the ice with that guy. B. Nikita Nestorenko just turned 22 years old and had 1 goal in 9 NHL games last season for the Ducks. He will start the year in the AHL, but is projected to have a solid season. The current market in Anaheim does not help his value, though. C+. Hunter McCown had 2 points in his first 12 NHL games, had a solid last NCAA season, and is described as a defensive forward. He just turned 21 and probably translates into a strong bottom 6 forward eventually. C. Aidan McDonough is a 23-year-old winger who went a point per game in the NCAA and had 1 goal in 6 NHL games. Will start the season in the minors. C+. Lucas Rusick put together a strong AHL campaign last season and 2 points in 2 NHL games. Buffalo looks to be on the rise, and he could find himself in a depth spot at some point during the season. He is already 24, though, and starting the season in the AHL. C+. Sean Farrell will start the season in Laval, but that's not a bad thing. Farrell had 2 points in 10 games for the U.S. at the World Championship, 1 goal in 6 NHL games, and a staggering 53 points in 34 games for Harvard. Could be a sleeper rookie of this grouping. B. Tyler Clevin also played for the U.S. at the World Championship and had 2 assists in his first 8 NHL games. At 21, he will need time to develop in the AHL and round out his game, but nonetheless could be a steady top 4 defenseman for the Sens in the future. C+. Henry Thrun also played for the U.S. at the World Championship, 2 assists in his first 9 NHL games. At 22, I'm going to say the exact same thing twice in a row. He will need time to develop in the AHL and round out his game, but nonetheless could be a steady top 4 defenseman in the future. C+. Devin Levi looks to be Buffalo's number 1 goalie starting the season, and fans are hoping he picks up where he left off last season. If Levi is the real deal, which many people believe him to be, the Buffalo Sabres are a playoff team, and a scary playoff team at that, mark my words, A-. Spencer Stastny is a 23-year-old defenseman who had 2 points in his first 8 NHL games and a decent rookie AHL campaign. Don't expect anything earth-shattering here. C-. Daniil Gushchin is a 21-year-old winger in the San Jose system who put together a strong first AHL season and got his first NHL goal and assist in limited action. Will have a lot of chances given the state of the San Jose rebuild. C+. Matthew Kessel is not related to Phil and is a 23-year-old defenseman that shows little offensive upside. D+. Marco Kasper is starting the year in Grand Rapids, but at just 19 years of age and putting up 23 points in 52 games in Sweden's top league as an 18-year-old, you should keep him on your radar. The gritty number 8 overall pick from 2022 is going to be an NHL player sooner than later, and for a team that is on the upswing, A. Akito Hiroshi, brother of Taro, is a defensive prospect for the Canucks. Solid collegiate career, 3 points in his first 7 NHL games. Will start the year in Abbotsford, but could make some moves if there's an injury in Vancouver. For now, though, C. Adam Ginning is a defensive prospect for the Flyers, but offers limited offensive upside and is more of a shutdown defenseman. Not a bad thing, but bad for hobby value. D+. Cole McWard is a 22-year-old defenseman that has impressed in the preseason for the Canucks, but likely needs more work in the AHL. From what I've read, he would eventually be a great fit as a right-handed defenseman for the Canucks with top 4 potential. C+. Jake Livingstone is a 24-year-old defenseman coming off of a robust collegiate career, starting the season in the AHL, but could get a call-up. C. Jack Greaves is 4th on the depth chart in Columbus and does not bring much potential to the table. C-. Levi Merilainen was great in Finland's top league last year, sparkling in limited AHL action, and didn't look amazing in limited NHL action. But that's development for you. He's only 21 and looks like he has a bright future as a goaltender. B. Luke Hughes is the real deal, and the thought of him and brother Jack on the power play is a really scary thought, especially as a Rangers fan. Defensemen typically do not get a grade this high, but because of his offensive prowess and potential, he gets an A+ from me. Olli Eriksson Ek, brother of Joel, is back across the pond in Sweden. I'm all for goalies getting chances, but he's had some and hasn't put up great numbers. I do not anticipate him ever coming back to the NHL. F. Checklists are checklists are checklists. C. Overall, a solid class of rookies. A lot of depth players, but some real gems in guys like Luke Hughes and Matthew Knies. Series 2 is going to be loaded, though. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like and consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind later. Peace.